Think about the last time you felt truly overwhelmed by your own business. Maybe it was this morning when you looked at your to-do list and realized it was actually a to-do everything list. Or maybe it was last night when you were staring at a blank spreadsheet, trying to project where you'll be in 5 years while you're currently struggling to figure out what you're doing on Monday. We've been conditioned to believe that big results require big, complex plans. We think that if we're going to build a real company, we need a 40-page business plan with color-coded charts, market analysis from 3 different agencies, and a mission statement so long that even your mom wouldn't read it. But here is the brutal truth. Complexity is just a sophisticated form of procrastination. We build complex plans because we're afraid of the simple work. We hide behind the strategy so we don't have to face the execution. I've seen $100 million companies run off a single coffee-stained sheet of paper, and I've seen bankrupt companies with binders full of expert advice. Today, I'm going to show you the one-page strategy that replaces all that noise. It's the exact framework we use to cut through the fog and build something that actually moves. I remember talking to a guy who ran a high-end landscaping business. When I met him, he was miserable. He had this massive business plan he'd paid a consultant $5,000 to write. It was beautiful. It had demographic breakdowns and 20-year financial projections. It was a masterpiece of MBA speak. But he was working 80 hours a week and his profit was actually shrinking. When I asked him what his primary goal for the next 90 days was, he had to go get the binder and look it up. That was the moment we realized the plan wasn't a map, it was a weight. If your strategy isn't simple enough to live in your head, it's not a strategy, it's just a suggestion. He threw the binder away and we spent 20 minutes on a single piece of paper. We identified 1 target customer, 1 primary offer, and 1 marketing channel. Within 3 months, he had cut his working hours in half and his revenue had gone up by 40%. Clarity isn't a luxury. It's the only way to survive the chaos of being a founder. The first part of the one-page strategy is what I call the identity audit. Most business plans start with market analysis, which is basically a fancy way of guessing what other people want. A true one-page strategy starts with who you are and what you refuse to do. You need to write down in 1 sentence exactly what problem you solve and for whom. If you say you solve all marketing problems for small businesses, you've already lost. You're a generalist in a world that rewards specialists. Think about a high-end watchmaker. They don't say, we make things that tell time. They say, we create heirloom-quality mechanical instruments for people who value tradition over tech. That 1 sentence dictates everything. It tells them what to build, what to charge, and more importantly, who to ignore. If you try to be everything to everyone, you end up being nothing to anyone. Your one-page starts with a boundary. It's a no to 1,000 distractions so you can say yes to the one thing that actually scales. The second section is the economic engine. This is where the complex plans get really messy with earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization, and compound annual growth rates. On the one page, we keep it human. How exactly does a dollar move from a stranger's pocket into your bank account? You need to map out the journey, not the theoretical journey, but the real one. For example, I worked with a boutique gym owner who thought her plan was about fitness. We realized her economic engine was actually about community. A stranger sees an Instagram post, they come for a free community Saturday, they get a high five from 5 different people, and they sign a 6-month contract because they don't want to lose that feeling. That's it. Once she saw that on 1 page, she stopped spending money on Facebook ads and started spending money on hosting the best Saturday morning events in the city. When you simplify the engine, you finally know where to pour the fuel. If you're listening to this and realizing that your own economic engine is currently covered in layers of grease and confusion, if you feel like you're doing 1,000 things but nothing is actually clicking, you need to stop and audit your time. Most founders are too busy working in the chaos to build the system. If you want to start fixing your business today, we've put together a free checklist that helps you identify the noise and get back to the signal. It takes about 15 minutes to go through, but it's designed to help you reclaim 10+ hours of your week by showing you exactly what to stop doing. You can find the link in the description below. It's the first step towards getting your head out of the binder and onto the page. The third part of the one-page strategy is the ideal client avatar. And no, I'm not talking about a generic description like females aged 25 to 45. That's not a person, that's a data point. On your one page, you need to describe a specific person with a specific pain. I knew a high-end wedding photographer who was struggling to get bookings. Her plan said her target was brides. We changed her one page to target the bride who hates the cheesy wedding tradition and wants her day to feel like a cinematic indie film. Suddenly, her messaging changed, her website changed, her pricing doubled because she was speaking to a person, not a demographic. When you know exactly who you're talking to, you don't have to sell anymore. You just have to show up and be the answer to their specific prayer. A one-page plan forces you to choose a side. You can't be kinda of for everyone on one sheet of paper. You have to pick your person. Next is the 90-day sprint. This is where we replace the 5-year projection with real-world action. 5-year plans are great for making you feel safe, but they're usually wrong the second the ink is dry. A 90-day sprint is the only horizon that actually matters. What are the 3 things that must happen in the next 13 weeks for this business to be significantly better? If you have more than 3, you have 0. Maybe it's hire a project manager, launch the new website, and secure 5 new recurring clients. That's it. On your one page, these 3 things are the only things that exist. When a new opportunity comes along, and they always do, you look at your page. If it doesn't help one of those 3 goals, the answer is no. This habit alone, the habit of saying no to good ideas so you can finish the great ones, is what separates a founder from a dreamer. The final piece of the one-page strategy is the machine. This is where you list the 3 primary systems that allow the business to run without you. A business that requires the founder's presence to function isn't a business, it's a cage with a logo. On your page, you need to identify your sales system, your fulfillment system, and your feedback system. For example, if you're a consultant, your sales system might be weekly webinar, your fulfillment system might be step-by-step video portal, and your feedback system might be monthly client review. By putting these on the page, you aren't just planning for growth, you're planning for freedom. You're reminding yourself that your job isn't to be the machine, but to build it. I've seen this one-page approach transform lives. I've seen people go from the brink of burnout to taking 3-month vacations because they finally had the courage to be simple. The complex plan is a shield we use to protect our ego from the possibility of failure. Because if the plan is 50 pages long and it fails, we can blame the market conditions or the variable data. But if a one-page plan fails, it's because we didn't execute on the basics. That's a scary thought, but it's also the most liberating thought you'll ever have. Because if you know exactly what the basics are, you can actually win. You don't need a massive team of consultants. You don't need $1 million in the bank. You just need a pen, a piece of paper, and the discipline to ignore everything that doesn't matter. We've spent a lot of time today talking about the power of simplicity, but I know that simple doesn't always mean easy. The transition from a chaotic, complex mess to a streamlined, self-running machine is the hardest work you'll ever do. It requires you to look at your business and yourself with a level of honesty that most people avoid. But it's also the only path to the freedom you were looking for when you started this journey. You didn't become a founder to spend your life reading binders. You did it to build something that stands on its own. Are you ready for the complete self-running business system? We've created what we truly believe is the best business course on the market for people who are ready to stop managing and start building. We don't just give you theories, we show you the exact step-by-step framework we use to build businesses that run entirely without us, anchored by the power of simplicity and systems. You can sign up 100% free, no credit card required, and get instant access to the full course intro right now. The link is in the description, and it's also the very next video you see on your screen. It's time to stop hiding behind complexity and start building your legacy. I'll see you again soon.